simply put, I may not get to do it again tomorrow. Each race may be my last one.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Hook, Line, and Shifter, brought to you yours truly, Bob McCarty. Click that like button down in the bottom, subscribe, and please share. Means a lot to me. It also means a lot to my sponsors. Today's episodes, much like all of them, are brought to you by a lot of fine people that are out there trying to help me do what it is that I'm doing here. So we got Orcus Technology, ESI Grips, U-Cycling, MASH Mobile Vet. You know how stressful it is taking your animal to the hospital or to the doctor? Have that hospital come directly to you. MASH Mobile Vet will take care of that for you. POC helmets, NV wheels, Pirelli tires. Check out Pirelli's new M line of tires. Their race compound. They changed the tread pattern. Amazing tire. Been using them for probably about 4 or 5 weeks now, right when they got released. Excellent tire. And new this week for Hook, Line, and Shifter, Absolute Black chain rings. I can't say enough about them. I've been using their oval chain rings for a very, very long time, probably eight or 9 years now, and I absolutely love it. Give it a shot. You'll probably find that you like it too. They also have a demo program. Check with your local shop. Some of them actually have a demo program that you can test an oval chain ring and see what you think. If you don't like oval chain rings, they have an excellent assortment of narrow, wide, regular round chain rings to match any configuration that you're currently running. So once again, thanks for clicking on to Hook, Line, and Shifter. Another good episode today. Last weekend, we were up in Hanna Park in Jacksonville for round 2 of the Florida State Championship Series. In the last episode, I said I wanted to have on some of the athletes. This week, oh man, what a great interview. Not going to tell you who it is. You'll be able to see in a minute or two who it actually was. But a great interview from an amazingly talented athlete. After that, we're going to have again, like last week, it's not going to be my typical show. After the interview, you're going to see a pre-ride from Catherine Abbey Hanna Park in Jacksonville. Keep in mind that the course preview you're going to see this year, it's not going to be the course for next year. Next year, the course is actually reversed, and then the following year, it'll be back to this direction again. Either way, it's a good video to kind of give you an idea of what the conditions are like. And then you can also, after you hear the interview and take the time to watch the video, you can put together what some of the course conditions were that this young man was referring to in the interview. Not the usual show. I'm not going to have all the segments that I want. But anyways, the interview is well worth watching the whole thing, and then check out the pre-ride at the end of it. Once again, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy this interview. All right, as promised on Hook, Line, and Shifter, I told you I was going to start to interview everybody, some different people every single week. And this week, I am proud to say that I have somebody with us. Not going to say who it is just yet, but we'll find out real quick just who it is. I have the winner of the Florida State Championship Series 2025 Round 2 in Jacksonville. I have the current points leader in the elite category for the 25 State Series. I have a 7-time, and he might not know this, I have a 7-time Florida State champion at the highest level, 2-time elite champion, possibly 3 if things go the way he plans this year, 10-time Florida State overall podium finisher. He probably doesn't know any of these stats. The sole owner of Top Gear Bicycles. One of the guys that I can say that every one of my second place finishes, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to say it, came to this guy. A true legend in the sport, but most of all, married to Darla Woodall. Welcome to the show, none other than Ryan Woodall. Welcome, Ryan.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No, thanks for being here. So did you know any of these statistics that I just rattled off about you?
I could have taken some guesses, but honestly, no, 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 no. Yeah, I've been fortunate to have a lot happen over the last, 20, 25 years, and it's hard sometimes to keep it all in count, but that's kind of neat. Neat to hear it. Thank you.
Yes. And all those, like I said, all of my second place finishes coming to you, man. I got to thank you for the decades of racing. And I had Reed on the show last week, and I told him, oh, thank God I don't have to deal with you guys anymore, because you guys are just too fast, but super, super talented you are there, Ryan. And I look forward to the opportunity to for the fans and everybody get a chance to really try and meet you today. So a little bit of a backstory. Let's kind of start with tell me, or tell the fans a little bit about yourself. When did your career start? I know you came from a father that was into cycling, but when and where did you get your feet dug into this sport?
So we were first introduced to mountain biking Christmas of '97. I was 12 years old, and the family, after Christmas morning, we exchanged gifts, had breakfast, and we lived about a mile away from the Santos Trailhead. And we, as a family, we all got on our Walmart bikes, as we all had back then, and
Walmart bikes,
made
I
our
love
way
it.
down to the Santos Trailhead, and just kind of fell in love with the sport. My father and I, he and I really got into it at that point, and moved forward. We got better bikes pretty quickly, and right away got into racing. We were competitive. We wanted to compete, and got our feet wet and loved it, and took off from there. And really, when I was probably 18, I think 18, graduated high school, and just I knew that I wanted to race bikes, and I hadn't really been doing it for the last couple of years, and it just seemed like something that I don't know. It was really a passion, a drive that I wanted to go after, and had a good talk with my parents about what I wanted to do, and how I was going to grow up as a young man. And I seemed pretty adamant about that happening on a bicycle seat, and they were okay with it, and kind of encouraged me to go for it.
And
And
it was directly into mountain biking, no BMX, no anything before. It was
no, just right
big.
into mountain bikes. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, my brother and I, we played on bicycles a lot. We made little dirt jumps in the yard, and made little trails in the yard. I'm sure my parents loved to mow over.
Of
But
course.
we never competed. We pretended like we were racing each other, but never did anything other than that. But just really enjoyed the freedom of a bicycle. Truthfully, I think it was just if we were in trouble, it was our bikes that they took away from us to get us back in line, because I think we enjoyed it so much.
Right. I love it. And you started, I'm assuming, so you have about a 20. I neglected to say also, when I gave the statistic about about the success in your career, that you were a 2005, 2006, 2007, 2009, 2010, 2021, and 2023 were your years. So you pretty much, you dominate now. You are a legend in the sport. You dominate now, but man, 2005 through 2008 looks like something might have happened, because you weren't on the podium that year. But 2005 for 2010, man, you were the guy out there. Your career started, I'm assuming back then we were on 26s. Were you on a 26 then? That's when your career
Yeah,
started?
26. Yeah,
And
26
probably
hardtail. Probably,
I was
yeah.
gonna say hardtail. Nice. Okay. And then okay, so from there, what gave you the bug to get into racing?
I think I love it had the desire to push, to do more. If I finished third, I wanted to finish second. If I won by 2 minutes, I wanted to win by three. I
Love it.
wanted to do more. Whatever I did today, I wanted to do more tomorrow. I want to do better tomorrow, and just that desire to push to the higher level. I'd win a Cat 2 race, and I'd compare my time to the Cat 1 guys. I'd win a Cat 1 race, and I compare my time to the pro guys. It was always I wanted to know what that next step was like, and had the desire to push to be on that next step.
And what do you think? We'll get into Jacksonville, but what do you think drives you today? Being you just turned 40 this year. It does not seem like you're any slower than you've ever been. What drives you? What drives you to want to continue to succeed today in the sport with such a strong resume that you have, the results that you have, and being a champion in 2005, and here if things go, knock on wood, if things go the way they want to, or they're hopefully going to go, 2025, 20 years later, to stand on top of the podium again, man, that is a long career. What do you attribute the drive and and discipline to want to get up, and because the sport is not easy, to want to get up and do this on a regular basis?
So, quite simply put, I may not get to do it again tomorrow. Each race may be my last one, right? And some people might not like the sound of that, and I don't mean to sound like, oh, there's some secret I'm keeping, but just I've really, over the last few years, I've had some life experiences that have reminded me that we're not promised anything, and that when I lined up on Sunday in Jacksonville, like within me, I wanted to do the absolute best I could that day. And knowing that if that was my very last time racing a bike, I could hang my hat on a good race, in a strong race, and just that I gave my best and I did my best.
Yeah, man, that's such a motivational thing. I think people really should take that to heart. Yes, you do have a competitive side, and it has afforded you some amazing results. But I think that discipline of wanting to put it all out there week in and week out, knowing that you're not guaranteed tomorrow, is admirable for you to vocalize. A lot of people don't have that same passion, and maybe there's some people that should think a little bit more about that. And that's what is a driving factor. It could be a driving factor for others. Okay, so this weekend, we were in Abbey Hanna Park in Jacksonville for round 2 of the FSC. Last weekend we were in Tallahassee, and Reed got the better of you. Before we get into Jacksonville, give me a little bit about the overall about the race summary of last weekend in Tallahassee. Not necessarily the time trial, because time trial is just straight up you against the course. Reed seemed to get the best of you by about 38 seconds. You told me after the whole thing that dude was legit, and it was straight up hard racing from him. But how did Sunday play out? Because I saw you guys together at the end of the Cadillac Trail, right after the bridge, on the start at the a quarter of the way or a third of the way through lap 4. You were sitting his wheel, yet by the end of the day, he got you by about 12 seconds. Just give me a quick how did all that come to fruition in Tallahassee?
So he was definitely stronger than me. I felt like I was as good of a rider as he was, at least on that day. I could match his ability, but he was stronger than me, and I knew I was having to dig deeper within myself to match his effort. And I think he knew that, and he stayed on the gas. It was smart. He didn't give me a break. He didn't give me the opportunity to relax. And it was a good, long, hard race. And really, in probably the last quarter of the lap, it was like he just slowly started to inch away from me. And he'd get a few feet, and then I'd hold him steady there, and then he'd get a few more feet, and I'd hold him steady, and I might get a few feet back, and literally just slowly crept away, and to where when we came out of the woods, I could see him. He's still right there in front of me, but at that point,
when we turned out to the RC course, did you go up towards the RC course still on his wheel, or did he start to tap you before?
At that point, he was probably, I would guess, 6 to 8 seconds ahead of me. So, okay. Like outside of striking distance, but still he's there. He was still in sight. But I was not on his wheel by that point. Still driving to try and, pull out some kind of magic. I don't know what I was thinking, but, going for it. And, you don't want to beat anybody by them having misfortune. But to be fair, I've lost races that way. When I knew I was the stronger rider and something happened, an untimely issue. And if you're not there, you can't capitalize on it. So I tried to keep myself in contention as long as possible. But he was stronger than me, and it was neat to push and chase them, and neat to be competitive with him, and definitely a drive to make me want to get close to him again.
So,
okay, sorry.
That's all right. We're off this weekend. Next weekend is one of our local races for the Coconut Cup Series, and then we're down here for Markham Park, where I'm so fortunate that I was able to take advantage of you a couple times in our careers together at Markham Park. It is my home park, so I don't really check that off as being able to beat Ryan Woodall, but hell, I'll take it. Anyways, Reed said he's probably going to be back down for that event. I'm assuming you will be here for Markham, correct?
Yes, we plan to be there.
Okay, and looking forward to racing Reed again.
Absolutely. I'm excited for it. I mean this in the best way possible. I want another shot at it. I thought it was fun, and he got the better of me in Tallahassee, and I want to see if I can beat him, before the year's out.
Nice. I love the attitude. Reed missed Jacksonville with us last weekend. That's why Ryan's not referring to being able to straight up race with him. Okay, so let's talk. Let's get into the race this past weekend in Jacksonville. Like I said, Catherine Abbey Hanna Park. I'll break down some of the course. Just hit you with a couple questions. See where you were at. I saw you at the end. Came out with a pretty nice lead. Spoiler alert for everybody. But on the start, we had a relatively short start for us to a tight right-hander, and then into the woods from there. Based on, I was studying the lap times, and based on your lap times, Ryan, let's just start with, where did you go into the woods, in what position? And when we refer to hole shot, I said this in the last episode, definition of a hole shot is who enters the woods in first. It's relative to the length of the start, but when the start pinches off and goes into single track, that's kind of where we define hole shot. And then you see where you thin out from there as you're making your way through the woods. But it has the appearance, based on the times, that you did not get the hole shot. Where did you go in the woods?
So I went into the woods, I believe, in sixth place. I didn't have the best start. It start seemed to narrow down pretty quick. And for me specifically, within a matter of feet passing the line, the starting line.
Right.
And it seemed like it just tightened up really fast, and kind of had to immediately concede a few spots. And then fortunately, nobody crashed, at least nobody with me, but I got kind of hung up on somebody going through the first turn.
That first right-hander.
To the first right-hander, and that kind of cost us a couple of spots, and was able to kind of recover from that a little bit and get a few spots back, I believe. But ultimately, I'm pretty sure it was sixth place that I went into the woods. Okay,
and statistically speaking, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but and I don't mean this in a bad way, but I don't think you're that good at starts. Like, maybe there's been a few in your career, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we say hole shot to checkers, mean you went in the woods in first and you ran away with it and came out and went through the chute in first. You don't have, if I'm not mistaken, you don't have many of hole shot to checkers. Is that correct? You seem to be a figure the race out. Your racecraft is really good, because you conserve enough to throw down really well at the end of the race. But how is your hole shots overall?
So typically, I'm not the greatest on the start. Florida starts are competitive. I will say that much. Florida starts are very competitive. When I get outside of Florida, I feel like I can do pretty well. But yeah, like, Florida starts are really competitive. They are. There's a lot of strong guys on the line there. And I don't feel like I'm bad. I think in a lot of cases, I don't necessarily put the most effort into it. Like last week, I had a phenomenal jump off the line. Like, timing was right and everything. And, we get maybe 20 or 30 yards into the start, and I realized, like, that's not worth it for me. I conserved a few matches, jumped in line, and went into the woods in third or fourth.
Got it.
So, truthfully, on Sunday in Jacksonville, my intention was to try and get a better start, knowing how important it was. It just didn't work out for me. That I was off by a split second, and that's all it took. But yes, I wouldn't consider myself to be the best starter by any means, from that standpoint.
Right. Okay. And some of the things Ryan's referring to is Jacksonville is a very, very tight course. As a matter of fact, we have pretty much one section, maybe one fire road that maybe is a half a mile or so. And I don't even know if it's that long. That's the only double track where you can really lay down some watts. Otherwise, it's 4,000 lefts and 4,001 rights that we have to go around. So it is a very tight course. Hole shots are pretty important. Obviously, they're not the end all be all. And I've said this before, you get a hole shot, you're not guaranteed a win. You don't get a hole shot, you're not guaranteed a loss. Yes, your day is going to be a little bit harder, but you have to think of the big picture. Ryan was out there for 2 hours and 6 minutes. He didn't get the hole shot. Says went in the woods in about 6, but found a way to get a minute on Jack and come out with the win. So let's backtrack again. In the first lap, you're correct in the 6 because you did come out of the into the chute in 6th place on the first lap, and almost 20 seconds down to the guys. Again, was this a tactical thing where did you know where you're at, or you didn't want to respond to 20 seconds? What was your thought at that point leading into 2 where you were down? It looks like you were down about 20 seconds.
So I was hoping to not have a deficit, because you have to overcome deficits, and it would have been nice to have been, on the wheel of the front guys. Just kind of stuck in traffic, and when we hit the double track, like the passing zone, if you will, immediately everyone in front fanned out and sat too wide, and we were just stuck in position. And so when it narrowed back up to go into single track, I was basically stuck in the same spot that I was in. And ultimately, everyone's going fast enough at that point, and mostly wheel to wheel. There's not a whole lot you can do. Most people on the first lap aren't going to just move over and let you go by because you think you're faster than them. So kind of had to just ride it out. I had an idea of where the leaders were, and we could see them, every now and then when the trail would switch back on itself in one of the tighter sections. I was trying to keep a mental note to make sure they weren't getting too far, and in large part just to see what kind of work I was going to have to put in once we finally got opened up to where I could try and run them down. And,
so on lap two, when you hit that fire road, because based on the times you went from 6th to 1st in lap 2 and built, hell, it looks almost like a 20 seconds in lap 2. So going up that fire road, going up the double track fire road, did you make your way into 1st there and then build the gap? Well, how did you get from 6th to 1st in lap 2?
So starting lap 2 is when I moved into 3rd place to chase the gap of the front 2 guys. And
okay.
So that was the start of lap 2. So pretty much all of lap 2 for me was almost wide open. I knew I was going a little bit beyond what I could sustain, but also recognizing you can disappear on that course pretty quickly. And I didn't want to let the guys in front, put in a smoking lap and just disappear from me. And, then you're just chasing a ghost out there. So I've tried to, kind of play the game back at them and run them back down, and was able to almost catch back up to them, I should say, at the end of the fire road. When it narrowed back down, I was probably about 5 seconds behind them at that point. Okay. So still sitting in 3rd place.
And this was Jack and Jacob. Those were the 2 in
Correct.
Front? Okay.
Yes, Jack and Jacob. And then funny enough, when it narrowed back into single track, I think they saw me coming and picked up the pace a little bit. So for a while, we sat pretty stagnant. I was all in chasing them, and I couldn't catch them. And then slowly but surely, I started catching Jacob. And Jack was basically running the same pace I was, still riding away from me, or I should say, holding the gap on me as I caught Jacob. And Jacob was gracious and allowed me to come by and continue to chase Jack. And then I caught up to Jack, I think, really the start of lap 3. So when we were coming through to finish lap 2, I was, if I'm not mistaken, I was still a couple of seconds behind him.
Okay. Yeah, so
I did
maybe
have
the way
lap time, but yes, I wasn't in first at that point yet.
Right. So you did throw down a 30:51, which was the fastest it looks like that was the fastest lap time of the day, but it also, you went into the lap with a deficit. So by the time you close some of the deficit and threw that down, it still has a fast lap time, but it has an appearance that you, I got you. Based on your lap time, it was the fastest, but it still didn't have you in the lead just yet. So at the start of, did you jump him on the, at the start finish and then go into the lead on 3, or where did that happen?
So at that point, Jack was still riding very quickly, and so I did get up to him and kind of, a little sigh, sigh of relief once I got to his wheel, knowing like, okay, now we've ridden away from everybody else. I'm still in this. We're fighting for the win. And throughout that third lap, the first half of the third lap, he rode very quickly. And then as we got a little bit deeper into the lap, I started to recognize he was just kind of losing his edge a little bit. Still riding good, still riding quick.
Right. Define that for me, because I'm sure a lot of people would like to know. I think one of the things that successful athletes like yourself do is reading the demeanor or reading the body characteristics of the person in front of you, line choice, gears. What is your definition, and in this case that you saw in Jack, that you read what he was doing, that you kind of knew there was a little bit of some fatigue was setting in, and clearly by lap 4, you picked up, or I should say, you hung on to the pace and he fell off pace. What were some key things that you noticed that other people might want to try and pay attention to in their competition? And by the way, it doesn't have to be in the elite category, and this is what the guys do. You want to learn throughout your entire career how to read your competition, when to make attacks, when to rest, and to understand the how to play the game, because you play the game really well. But what was Jack doing that stood out? And Jack, if you're watching this, maybe you might not want to do these things.
And Jack, don't watch this next part.
Yeah. Turn off, Jack.
Yeah. So the first thing I noticed is that it started to get easier for me. And not to make that sound like it was easy for me, but it just started getting easier. I recognized I wasn't having to push as hard out of every corner. And as you know, there's a lot of speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down. Right. Every time you're coming to a corner or exiting a corner, you're speeding back up and hitting the brakes. And I recognize that the efforts weren't as difficult for me, which is usually a sign that the guy in front of you is not pushing as hard. And so it's not that I'm getting in better shape as the race is going on. There's a reason why I'm feeling better.
Right.
And
good point.
That was the first thing I recognized, is just that it started to get easier. And then I just started paying attention to the fact that he didn't quite seem as excited, coming out of the corners. When you're feeling fresh, a little bit peppy, and got all this extra energy, and you take off, and you just have this excitement in you. And as you get tired, you start to lose that. You kind of lose your edge a little bit. And most people do anyway, their appearance, like you could see it. And he just seemed to just kind of start to look tired on the bike. Still riding strong, but he just started to look tired on the bike. And, my experience told me that was the time to move.
Okay. So and how long, when you start to see these issues with one of your competitors, do you react instantly? Do you take an extra couple seconds or minutes to compose yourself, to make sure if you're gonna attack and make the move, you want to make it stick and kind of reinforce, hey, you're not going to come with me? Or as soon as you see something, do you get, and I'm assuming it's going to be a no, but you don't get that spontaneous, oh my God, I gotta react right now. How do you handle that situation to methodically think out at what point and where am I going to do this?
So I think it's a case by case, just in any given scenario will be different for me, how I would do it. I could see there being scenarios where it would be a spontaneous, I saw something, I must respond. In most cases, I think I'm a little bit more methodical, like all right, we saw something, confirm you saw what you think you saw. Make sure, do you see it again? Is it getting worse? Has he been doing this the whole time? I just didn't notice this. Tracking some of that stuff just to make sure that I'm not, just picking up on the wrong thing. And in this case, we had a lot of time to be patient because there weren't a lot of passing opportunities. So it allowed me time to, I was kind of forced to watch and confirm my suspicions at that point. Where there are plenty of races where I would say, in the FSC, that you don't have that opportunity. You you see something, you have to go because,
Right.
Maybe it's just, this is the spot to pass and you won't have another spot, or just the setup of the course is just aggressive enough, or there's someone in front of you riding away that you need to get around to go to that person as well. And you can't be patient. In this case, I had no choice but to be patient. And when I felt like it was, I guess you say, getting bad enough, I was ready to go. At that point, I asked Jack, I told him, I said, I know we're racing here. Do you mind if I come by? And fully prepared for a no, just because we're racing and we're racing for the win. He's not holding me up from catching somebody else. We're racing for the win here. And he was kind enough to move over. And the next spot that it was wide enough and made sense, he moved over and let me go and rode with me for a little while. And I slowly tried to pick up the pace to not give him too much time to kind of
too much time to feel better and come back.
Exactly. Yeah. Because it happens.
Yeah. There, honestly, Ryan, there's so much to be learned in that sentence right there, coming from the fastest guy in the state that you are for so long, to understand that there is ethics and there is a race craft. It isn't always about just destroying your competition and holding people up. So if Jack isn't feeling it, he's got no reason to hold you up. As a matter of fact, it's better for him to be second wheel and try and hang on as long as he can. This way, whoever happens to be in third place, if this case it was Jacob, if he's riding slower and you can ride faster, all he's doing is allowing Jacob to get back up to the mix, where it's probably better off to actually let you around, sit on your wheel. And even though he's going to get dropped, maybe he gains 5 or 10 or 15 seconds over Jacob. That could play out to be the end of the day. So it's funny to hear there's really not a whole lot of drama that goes on at your level, at the elite level. And you hear at the lower level, the novice, the beginner in the sport, it literally sounds like everybody they want to kill each other. So based on that sentence, if you were to give a tactical piece of advice or a racecraft piece of advice to the lesser of the categories and people that are looking to move up and hopefully someday bang bars with the likes of a Ryan Woodall, what advice would you give them?
Oh man, definitely. At the start of the race, the other guys aren't your enemies. Don't fight them. You're only going to hurt yourself. And kind of like you suggested, that to let a faster rider by can be to your benefit. There've been plenty of times throughout the many races where I've let somebody by that was faster than me, and it ultimately benefited me, and then where I potentially even got them back later on in the race when kind of roles reversed and I started feeling better. Mm-hmm. And to hold somebody else up and hold your ground, if you will, hold your position, early in the race isn't going to do anybody any good. And now if we're getting later on in the race, if that had been the last lap and we're a couple miles from the finish, I would not have expected him to move over, and truthfully, I wouldn't have asked.
He rightfully so, he wouldn't. It's
exactly.
Down to you all.
Exactly.
Now it's a lot of tactics. There's nothing to be gained or lost when the two of you are sticking together. To be gained would be trying to get the win. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you wound up throwing down a phenomenal last lap, 32:03. You got the win by about 58 seconds over Jack. So great job, Ryan. Super impressive. I constantly refer to negative splitting. Negative splitting is when your lap times progressively get better as the day goes on. A lot of times negative splitting has to do with learning the course, lines coming in, corners getting pushed to create berms, and you can carry better momentum. So even though you're fatigued, you do have the ability to have mastered your lines and carry better momentum through the trail. Therefore, the two of them actually offset themselves, and you have a way to negative split. You are by far one of the best guys that I have ever seen and studied about negative splitting. What can you attribute that to, that you can get faster, or the fastest lap of the day in some cases comes from you on the final lap of the race? How does somebody pace themselves, or how do you develop that skill set?
That's a good question. So I think a lot of it's patience. Don't overdo it in the beginning. Um, in the race on Sunday, I kind of had to do what I had to do based on the guys in front of me. You still have to race your competition for sure, but being patient with the course. And I feel like Sunday's race, there was a lot of course breakdown where I would argue in a lot of cases the course got a little bit slower as the race went on.
Okay.
But that's not true in most races. I feel like at my local trails here at Santos, I feel like the course usually gets faster. If we're under decent conditions, the course gets faster. Where I feel like if you're fresh, it would be easier to do a faster lap at the end. Obviously, you have to have the legs to do that. You have to have the freshness to do that. But I think that's a lot of it's patience of not overdoing it early on, not pushing the issue to try and find speed where there isn't, and allow the course to come to you a little bit.
Right. I completely agree with you. So you're saying a lot of conservation of energy. One of the things I think what you're referring to, if I can summarize a little bit, is that you are not going, yes, you have to do based on your competition, you have to put forth an effort, but your effort level on lap one is not 105% of your abilities. Your effort level on number one is knowing that you have, in this case, 4 laps, and you have to save something in 4, knowing that there will be some fatigue in hopes. And by the way, Ryan did not negative split, but the lap times were spot on. He came in at 30. The earlier lap was a 31:40 and came in at a 32:03. Not bad at all. Technically, not negative splitting, but pretty damn close, considering that everybody else fell off pace anywhere from 1 minute to probably 4 minutes. But again, congrats on that race, Ryan. Here's one of the other things that I think is really cool with our sport and cool with mountain biking. Ryan, your average speed was 12.2 this weekend at Jacksonville for a race of 2 hours and 6 minutes. 1 week earlier, you guys were averaging 17 miles an hour in the trail. 17 on a mountain bike course. That's just crazy to me. Where do you think you're clearly good anywhere you go? What would you prefer? Would you prefer 17 miles an hour, or would you prefer 12.2?
Oh, that's a good question. If I had to pick the two extremes,
yes, you have to pick.
Yeah, I had fun at both of them. I would probably pick the slower course. Just because like the slower speed, I think it's a little bit more technical. Okay. It required more precision, at least in the conditions that we were in. I have raced at Hanna Park under like pristine conditions where it didn't really require the same level of finesse. You could kind of just bully your way through the trail, and there was so much grip that the corners were almost easy. Where that wasn't the case. It was a little bit dry, and you had to finesse it a little bit more. And I kind of enjoy that aspect of just kind of having to pick your way through, riding that line, riding that edge. And I think it's a little bit more comfortable at a slower speed, I guess, where truthfully in Tallahassee, there were plenty of times like I feel like we were sliding, both wheels, myself and Reed, like sliding through corners at speed, him knowing he had to do what he was doing because he's trying to get away from me, and me doing what I was doing to try and keep up with him. Right. And, it's a little bit edgy. It was still fun, but I think that the little bit slower course, I think, I guess you say maybe it favors me a little bit more, but
yeah, I would have expected you to say that in the nature of where you, your training grounds and where you grew up riding at Santos. Santos has 3 different trail systems: Santos Trailhead, Santos Vortex, and the land bridge. Ryan is closest to the trailhead, with being able to cross over the road into Vortex, which is super technical. So you're clearly well versed wherever we throw you. You know tactically what you need to do, but it definitely sounds like, based on your experience and how you grew up, technical riding is I would say would be your forte.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, again, congrats on that. I just want to touch a little bit into your career, because based on your results, like I said, 2005 through 2010, you pretty much dominated the Florida State Series. In 2015 is when the elite class was introduced. The elite class is simply a 19 to 49-year-old category. You're scored in that mass category. In addition to that, you are scored in your individual category. In this case, it could be 19. It started out 1929, 30-39, and 40-49. Now it's 1939 and then 40-49. So 19, long-winded sentence. So 19 to 49 is the elite category. You've got 2 championships in the elite category. Vic got the better of you for 2 years. But we have a gap. We have a gap from 2011 to 2020 where I don't have your name on the podium in the top 3 spots. Where did you go for that piece of your career? And then you clearly came back in 21 and took me out. You won the series in 21. I got second. Where did you go for that gap?
So I was still here. I'm still racing, just not racing the FSC at that time. For the handful of years before that, I was trying to race like the national schedule, which is generally kind of starts in March, early March. It runs through, I would say, probably early August.
So this was like 12, 13, I think is when because I was doing the national tour with you. Was that, and that was one of my next questions, was tell me a little bit about nationals. Was that, I think that was 12, 13, 14, somewhere around there?
So I started doing that around 2007. In 2007. And so I continued to do the FSC for a few years and just found that it was difficult to maintain kind of racing all year round when the guys I was trying to race all summer were taking a proper winter break and with winter training and then coming back in strong. And I could usually, because of racing the FSC, I could start out really strong. I carried a lot of fitness over into March, but then, April I'd be good, but then come May, June, July, I would suffer. I was just too tired. I couldn't keep up. And that was when most of the guys were peaking and doing really well. So it really highlighted that I needed to make a change in my schedule and what I was doing. I continued to do the FSC for those few years because I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. It was kind of like a little homecoming after being gone racing so much, and then to come back home and race with my friends again.
Right. But so you weren't chasing the series, but so your name was, you were out at those events, just not necessarily chasing overalls.
Correct. I usually would do 1 or 2 races each season. You don't see my name there listed in the overall. I would always try to come out to at least a couple of them and compete, have fun, and then sometimes just come out to watch, say hello to everybody, but
take pictures, sign autographs.
Off-season time. What's that?
I said take pictures, sign autographs, be the famous guy you are. Okay. In the national series, what was your how did you fare overall in the national series? What would be a range of finishes? I think, and again, if I'm not mistaken, I think you were like a 10 to 15-ish guy. How did the nationals play out for you?
So yeah, my average in the end was probably somewhere, I would like to think within the top 15. I had a handful of podiums. Every now and then I'll see a picture pop up on Facebook as a memory and I'm on a podium somewhere like, oh, hey, I remember that.
Nice.
I don't even remember that one. So yeah, that's pretty neat that happens. But through the years, I was usually a top 15. I feel like I might be being a little too gracious to myself there, but definitely had some years where I was stronger than others and got more top 10s or top 5s. But yeah, I feel like I was mostly in the mix, in the competitive mix, but not necessarily on the front.
Okay. And what kind of bicycle? Tell me about your bike. And I said in the introduction, I said that you're the proud owner of Top Gear Bikes. Tell me a little bit about what bike brand you use, and tell me a little bit about your shop and how you decided to. It sounds natural to follow the path into owning your own bike shop, but how did all of this come to fruition, and tell us a little bit about the shop.
So to talk about the bike, I have a Felt Edict. It's full suspension, 29er. I love it. It's about 5 years old. I don't know what I'd replace it with just yet. I really like the bike. Felt doesn't make mountain bikes, hasn't for a few years now. So, and I don't know that they have the plans to bring them back. So I'm not sure what I will do if something happens to that bike, but I'm going to keep trying to protect it and keep it going good. It's doing well for me right now. I can't complain. I really am just so comfortable on it. And
you've been with Felt for a majority of your career, correct?
So I was with them for I think 2013 through 2017 is kind of when I at the end of 2017 is when I stepped back. Took a step down from racing professionally. So I was with them the longest for sure. A handful of different brands, and it's kind of more 1 year deals from one to the next. And Felt was kind of the first one that really seemed to take me in and give me the chance, and then wanted to keep me with them, which I thought was pretty neat.
Okay, yeah. Tell me a little bit about your shop.
So it's a one-man operation. It's just me. We started out, the family business. My mom and my brother. About 14 years ago, and a handful of years in, my brother said, all right, it's too much. I want to do something different. And to be honest, I understand. It can be a bit much at times.
Got it.
So for the last probably close to 10 years now, it had been, I say 10 years, about 10 years ago, it became just my mom and I. And then she retired about a year and a half ago. And so it's just been me since then. And people tell me all the time, I need to hire somebody and have employees in here, and I kind of enjoy it being just myself, and I don't have to worry about somebody else, and I know who to yell at when something isn't done right.
There you go. We were talking over the weekend, and I couldn't believe that it was just you running. You're the salesperson. You're the guy that orders. You're the guy that wrenches. Impressive to maintain the fitness level that you do and own your own shop. Where exactly is the shop, and how can anybody get a hold of you and any of the fans that might want to follow you? Where can they reach you, Ryan?
Oh gosh, I'm not invisible, but I sure as heck don't put a spotlight on myself too much these days. So I'm not the easiest to find. My shop we're about a mile or half a mile north of the Santos Trailhead, right here on Highway 441. So the shop's relatively easy to find. It's a good spot, right on the highway. We're on Facebook, Instagram. Being a one-man show, I don't spend a whole lot of time on there promoting the shop or myself, truthfully. So okay. I'm sure there's plenty of posts that need to be made, that pictures that are stacked up waiting to be posted. But we are out there, Top Gear Bicycles.
Okay.
To my knowledge, we're the only one in Florida. We were the only one in the country when we started. I think there's a few more that have popped up across the country, but
on that Top Gear name. Okay. Well, good. All right, Ryan, let me just hit you with a couple of quick questions that I'm sure fans are curious about. You don't really have to elaborate a whole lot. FTP. What's your FTP?
I'll be completely honest. I haven't done a test in a handful of years.
What do you think? What was it, let's say, at the peak of your career when you're really into, I say peak of your career, you're still fast as shit, but what?
I'm not as strong as I used to be.
That's okay, but whatever you're doing works. But give me an idea of what your FTP ranges, what it might range from.
So I definitely know I'm not as strong today as I used to be. Like I know I'm not. The peak that I ever remember for 20 minutes was somewhere close to 350.
Okay.
And yeah, I honestly, I don't remember the breakdown there. 142 pounds. So whatever that is watts per kilo. I don't know if it's all that impressive, but it was enough to do what I needed to do at the moment.
That's one of the joys of mountain biking is no matter how strong you are, you still have to turn left and right, and you clearly turn left and right just fine. Tire pressure. What kind of front tire pressure are you usually running, and what kind of rear tire pressure?
So I'm usually running somewhere right around 20 psi. According to my digital pump.
In both.
In both, yes.
Interesting. Interesting. And you're same 140, 145 pounds. That's a lot heavier than what I would actually have thought. And 225, 235, or 24 tires.
So currently I think there are 2.2s or 2.25.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How many hours a week do you train?
Not enough. I'll
I
tell you
got
that
you.
much. Not enough.
It's
Never
never
enough.
enough. And based on what you're about to say, you could upset a lot of people based on your results. And keep in mind that this ain't Ryan's first time to this show. He's put in decades of work. You don't train hard today and are fast tomorrow. You put in decades like he has. But as of today, what kind of hours are we looking at a week?
So depending on the week and how, we'll just say how fortunate I am for the sake of time to get out there and really ride. Anywhere from maybe 6 to 10 hours top. 10 hours would probably be a big week for me right now.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, and a lot of that really is kind of like what you just said. That's leaning on the decades of doing it, and the good, better over a decade of doing it at a very high level, and just kind of, I guess, milking that for as long as I can.
Nice. I like the term of milking that, because you damn sure ain't milking that, but you're staying consistent and doing what you do so well. If there's a piece of advice that you could give to up and coming athletes, what one thing might you tell them about mountain bike racing that they could really benefit from? And it's not just, put in more hours and pedal harder. There is a mindset. You touched into it a little bit earlier, but what kind of advice might you give to somebody new into cycling, or somebody that wants to be the next Ryan Woodall?
I guess a couple of quick things. One, be patient. Be patient. Be patient in the race. Be patient with the timing. Allow it to happen. Allow yourself to get better. Just be patient. A lot of people get frustrated. Think logically. A lot of times, a lot of people that I help, if I talk to them, I can kind of pull the answer that they're looking for out of them just by simply making them think about it. Think about the question that they just asked, and think logically. And a lot of the answers are there. What should I do in this moment? I don't know. Think about it. And, we have this, this, and this. Well, this looks like the good answer, doesn't it? So think logically and only use your emotion to push yourself forward. Don't get frustrated in the race. Don't let emotions get in the way. Only use your emotions to push yourself.
That is some great advice. Listen, Ryan, I've taken too much of your time today away from your one-man operation in your shop. We can see the backdrop that you are physically sitting in the shop. And from what you told me in the pre-interview, that you put a sign on the door. You put a sign on the door saying, don't bother me for the next 30 minutes. But it's been my pleasure again to have you on the show. He is, in fact, the current leader of the Florida State Championship Series 2025. Him and, as a matter of fact, his wife, Darla Woodall, are both donning the leaders' jerseys. I'll put up a picture of the two of them on the podium. We had Darla on last week, and again, Ryan's credentials of about being a 7-time FSC champion. It's all about that hard work, dedication, and consistency. In my opinion, one of the things that I constantly talk to my people about, and maybe you would agree with me, Ryan, is you have to stay consistent into this sport. The thought of taking a month, 2 months, 3 months off, I'll be the first one to say, man, that's not how this sport works. You work so hard to get to a certain position like Ryan has. You have to stay on top of it. At a certain level, if you're riding an hour or two a week, that's just exercise. That's the daily requirement. You want to give a little bit more and make sure you can continue to succeed. You summarized it really well, Ryan. You say, to summarize it, it's easier now for you just to stay consistent, just to put the time in that you've put in over the last 2 decades. So Ryan, man, again, I appreciate your time. I've had an absolute amazing experience racing you for 2 decades. You made me a better racer. congratulations to everything that you have going forward today. And I do not want to go back and race you again. You know what? I say that kiddingly, man. I love you and what you're about, and banging bars with you has always been a pleasure. But I look forward to seeing what you can continue to do in your career. And again, thank you so much for taking your valuable time to come on Hook, Line, and Shifter with me today. Anything you wanna ask, or anything you want to share in closing?
Oh, I thank you for having me, and I appreciate the kind words for sure.
Yeah, no, everything is deserved, Ryan. I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks down here at Markham, and I'm going to try and catch you.
All right. You do that. Right. I'm going to try to stay away.
There you go. I look forward to it. Ryan, thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Be well. Wow. What a good interview from Ryan Woodall. Man, so many things that I learned I didn't know about him, even though I've been racing the guy bar to bar for 17 years. I said in the video about 20 years. 20 years we've been together racing, but probably 17 years or so is where I've had the privilege of racing him bar to bar. And then that video of the course conditions that we had to deal with, really, really sandy. Generally in Jacksonville, we sometimes get lucky with some weather that'll roll in a couple days before, or even the morning of, to kind of tack up the conditions so the sand isn't so bad. This year, man, it was sandy. It was sandy the whole time. Congrats to Ryan for getting the win and getting the leader's jersey. Congrats to Darla Woodall. She also got the win. Well, we had a Woodall and Woodall podium for the first time in Gone Riding's history, as well as in probably most programs out there, most racing circuits out there. To have a husband and wife standing on top was pretty cool, and I'm glad I was there for the opportunity to actually witness it. Both of them had phenomenal races. Once again, I appreciate each and every one of you coming to check out Hook, Line, and Shifter. Please continue to like, subscribe, and share. And as always, I can't do this without my sponsors: Orcus Technology, ESI Grips, U-Cycling, MASH Mobile Vet, POC Helmets, Envy Wheels, Pirelli Tires, and of course, Absolute Black coming on board this week and for future episodes. Once you go on to some of those select websites, ucycling.com, esigrips.com, please don't forget to use that discount code HLS2025 to get yourself 20% off site-wide. It helps me continue to do what it is I'm trying to do, and that's to bring all aspects of mountain biking to you all. Once again, thank you for watching Hook, Line, and Shifter. I was your host, Bob McCarty. Next week, we're off from racing, but I'm going to have another really good interview. So click in next Tuesday again, and hopefully you'll enjoy the person and get to know a little bit more about them. Following weekend, we're up in Dyer Park for Coconut Cup Round 1, and then over to Markham Park. Once again, thanks for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great training week.